Top of the afternoon, what is popping, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Measy Show. I'm Mike, your hostess with the mostest. So, before we begin, go ahead and hit that subscribe and that like button for me. No looky-loos and window shoppers around here. Okay. Now, apparently, right, for those who caught up with the new interview, his actually a circle of interviews. JT the BIGGA FIGGA, he's back from Africa. For those that know who JT the BIGGA FIGGA is, a.k.a. Fig Panamera, a.k.a. What's his government name? Joseph Tom, right? He been around a long time. A lot of the Bay guys that you used to hearing about, he been dealing with them like long time. Like he been dealing with Fody, he been dealing with Queen, Messy Marv. He had dealings with a lot of people in the Bay. He moved to Atlanta to get, for whatever reason, he ended up starting a couple little different things. He's really entrepreneurial, motivated. He do run his mouth a lot, but he got a long history of doing business without any middleman, without any label, without anything like that. So anyway, he comes back from, so he went to Atlanta, then he moved to Africa. Came back from Africa. Went on pardon me. What's called? No Jumper, right? And then a couple other little podcasts. Made his little circle. And was basically saying the game tried to bury him out the history, right? Tried to cut him out the history. Tried to bury his legacy that they had together, right? Bismillah. So, for those that know about the game, a.k.a. Jason Taylor, right? He's been around quite some time if you're in your 20s and 30s, right? If you're a little older than that, you can recall when he came out. I remember when he came out. So around the time that he dropped the documentary, around that time, a few months before that, he was already working with JT the BIGGA FIGGA, right? So I'll tell you from the beginning what happens, according to what JT says. And although he runs his mouth a lot, you can read between the lines of opinion and fact, right? So he was at a summit for Farrakhan, and it was like a summit at the Four Seasons or something, and Farrakhan was trying to make a speech about how, basically, that these music industry people, they try to pin black people against other black people and change the industry. And then he started saying about how, you need to let your money circulate, blase, blase. And funny enough, he did a speech about Black Wall Street, right? Now, remember what I'm telling you this, because it's going to come into play later on in this little story. So, he did something about Black Wall Street. So, anyway, there are some rappers in the circle. Somebody from the Outlaws, Trey D, or one of them East Siders guys. It's a few of them, right? JT the BIGGA FIGGA. At this point, he was already in the music industry, right? At this point, he said, after he heard everybody rap, he said the only one who really caught his eye was the Game, right? And he said he sounded like Shine. So, he said he sounds like Shine. He raps like Fabulous, and he's spitting all this like Compton gangster stuff, right? So I put the link to one of his old songs in the description. You can hit that link and listen to it. He do sound just like Shine. They don't even sound the same. People like, yeah, what the Glock, I'm coming through. Like, you know how Shine had that froggy type of sound, type of voice? Game had the same exact voice, man. I'm telling you. It was like a little smidgen different, but that's like, what the Glock, he had that type of sound. So anyway, yeah, he don't sound the same. I will say that. So, anyway, so he pulls Game aside, says, hey, what's popping? I don't know if you signed, what your deal is, whatever, but I would like to bring you to, Fillmore, San Francisco, and I'll work with you, you know what I'm saying? And I can't make no promises, but I would love to work with you, and we could get something popping, right? Game's like, all right, cool. So according to JT, he had no demo, no professional rap history. He hadn't done anything. He started this right there, right then and there is when his musical career started, right? So just remember that, right? So anyway, JT, the BIGGA FIGGA, works with him, does a couple of albums. I want to say he did one called, one was called the Untold Story, and then the second one was West Coast Resurrection, right? One of those is in the description, by the way. You can listen. That's the one he sounds like Shine, the rapper that went to Belize, and he's a Jewish rabbi now or something. Anyway, but old Shine. So JT says he learned about Black Wall Street that day, right? The actual historic place in Oklahoma. He says he basically like, he says he gave him the name Game. He says that, he said, look, you're going to put out something called Black Wall Street, right? And then anyway, so he does the little 2 songs or whatever. He brings them, he introduces them to Nas. He introduces them to, who was the other guy? Young Buck. Oh, that's another thing, right? So Young Buck was in Fillmore or Frisco somewhere, right? Back in the day, this is like before Buck or Game was in G Unit, right? They was in Fillmore way back then, right? So they was in Fillmore and doing songs and all that. So the Game and Young Buck did music before they ever even knew 50 Cent. Either one of them. Imagine that, right? So anyway, he brings the masters to the, mind you, this is according to this and also some documented history, right? So he brings the masters to one of these albums to Dr. Dre, because he's about to sign with him, right? So anyway, they're like, let us see the contract. So I guess JT the Bigga Figga had his lawyer with him. The lawyer like whispered to him like, hey, show it to him, but don't let him leave with it. So he didn't want them to leave with it. So he said, well, here, you could just see it right here. So they read it through right there on the spot, and they're like, yeah, you got him, but we'll pass on the $250. He was trying to sell it for $250,000, the original masters. Now, mind you, JT, one thing about him, yeah, he runs his mouth a lot, and maybe you don't see him as much, but one thing about JT, there's no middleman in JT. Knows no middleman in nothing he does. You feel me? He keeps everything in-house. Everything he does is in-house. You know. He ain't never signed to nobody, no label. He sold things to labels before, but he never rapped under any label. Because he did rap a little bit back in the day. I don't know how successful the raps were, but he probably made more money buying and selling people's masters, whatever. So anyway, so bam, so he puts out, JT probably gave, I don't even know what he gave Game. I don't think it was really too much, to be honest, but he took it. So anyway, so they passed him $250. So he leaves the office or whatever, right? Game calls him just a couple minutes later. Hey, man, what's up, man? You over here trying to mess up what I got going, trying to mess up my budget, blah, 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 right? So he was like, well, nah, I mean, I ain't messing up. So Game told him, look, man, you were trying to ruin it. Nah, bro, I'm going to give you $75,000 and you be gone, right? So he was like, nah, man, like, I'm trying to get $250 for this, right? So anyway, he was like, well, nah, man, I ain't doing that, whatever. So anyway, he calls Young Buck, right? Young Buck gets him on with 50. So, mind you, this is back in the day. This is before you knew any of these people. I mean, 50 was just coming out at this time as far as nationally, right? This is back in the day. He calls 50 Cent. So he calls 50 Cent. Apparently, 50's like, yeah, now we straight, but, you know what I'm saying, go get your money, though. So now he knows that they're dropping the documentary. That's the name of his first album, the documentary. So he's not stupid, right? So the first album was Untold Story. So tell me why he went ahead and put the album Untold Story documentary, right? So he tried to like put the documentary in the name. You feel me? So anyway, now he starts feeling like, well, damn, they're going to try to sue me. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be a lawsuit attached to this. And when there's a lawsuit, all your funds freeze up, right? Anything that comes from that particular thing. So he says, you know what? Just to avoid it, you know what I'm saying? He went to like a couple labels and they didn't want it. Finally, he went to one and he told him, look, just give me $100,000. Koch gave him $100K for it, for the masters. So anyway, he sold it. Well, anyway, of course, you know, as you know, then he signs to, you know what I'm saying, G Unit. And then some people feel like kind of like rapping wise, his spotlight was bigger than 50 Cent. I personally don't agree. I think that maybe 50 was trying to push everyone else because he knew he was already good, bro. These people are in by way of 50. They're not in just being in. You get what I'm saying? 50 had what they was looking for. So now, you know, so he pushed him. So some people say like, or well, let me rephrase this. JT, the Bigga Figga, says that his homies were like, bro, you bigger than, you know what I'm saying? You bigger than 50. Like, forget him. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. See, but here's the thing. JT, the Bigga Figga, he's a business guy. he's not worried about being seen, right? He might try to get on YouTube lives and all this stuff to get some money, but when you talking about he worried about being seen, he's not worried about being seen. Game's a rapper, he want to be seen, right? So 50 Cent's the same thing. He's a businessman. Yeah, he want to be seen, he want to promote his brands, but he's making a lot more money off of everything else. What I'm saying is that 50's business sense is far bigger than the Game's. Game is a very good rapper. His business sense, I don't think as much. You know what I'm saying? He kind of like blows a little bit of his money, and maybe he puts himself in not a... Like, that dude had a lot of money, bro. Think everything that he had, like, put out or whatever. You got documentary, Blood Moon, those two other little albums that JT had. He got the one 1994. That's, like, more recent. He got Red. He got... bro, he didn't put out a handful of albums. But see, here's the thing. Then he was bucking up on everybody. Basically, everybody he was working with that put him on when he was bucking up. Not knowing that he signed to these people. That's why I guess when he put out another album, he couldn't put it out under Interscope. It was like something else. It was like one of the... Another branch, I guess, according to how like he was saying it, is that another branch of the tree. You get what I'm saying? So, anyway, yeah, so he ends up running into him later on, I guess, at a... I don't know if you guys recall a long time ago when Snoop and Game and everyone else started all the Bloods and Crips was marching and all that stuff, and it was about the police and they all had their penalties. And I don't know if you guys remember that, but he met him that day and he actually took a picture with him. So when he had taken a picture with him, he said that they put him in a magazine, like thinking that JT was a Crip. But yeah, anyway, that wasn't the case. So, some key points to this, right? Okay. Yeah, so I told you about the 75K, right? We already got through that, right? So, prior to him selling the masters, right, to Koch, I guess, so Jimmy Henchman was Game's manager at the time. So Jimmy Henchman calls up JT, was like, hey, yeah, I heard you trying to sell the masters, whatever. He was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, well, you know, I really wouldn't advise you to do that. That might cause some problems for you, whatever. He was like, well, look, bro, I don't know. I mean, you want to buy it or something? Like, you know what I'm saying? So he trying to, like, basically strong arm, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, he was like, look, you got me messed up, whatever. So anyway, then some other blood dude calls him from, some blood dude from Compton or something calls him and was like, hey, you can't be selling that. This is big, whoever, right? Anyway, he was like, whatever. Jimmy Henchman tried to call back, and I guess he just hung up on him or something. But, yeah, bro, he basically just... So here's the deal. When JT speaks about Game, I feel like he keeps saying, like, I'm not mad at you, I'm not beefing. But he's saying certain things that make you think that he's a little salty. You get what I'm saying? Oh, he never put anybody on. He never did nothing for nobody. He never tried to push any rappers. Nobody from his hood ever got big. And then even Adam was like, yeah, well, you know, I mean, if you really think about it, every rapper that's been around 20 years, they've had at least a couple guys that tried to push along the way. He said Game never really did that. You get what I'm saying? I mean, he didn't give shout outs to people, you feel me? And you know what? That's not really true. That's not true. I disagree with that, now that I think about it. Who do you think brought Nipsey on tour before anything? He brought Nipsey on tour, bro. The Game brought Nipsey on his tour long before you get there. You heard about Nipsey in a big way. So that's one situation I heard. You get what I'm saying? And then his whole hood didn't like that and all that. But anyway, yeah, he said, JT said he introduced him to Nas. He was kind of, honestly, he kind of was, you could tell through what he was saying, he was a little salty, right? You could tell that, you know, he's talking about he was just talking about sport. He wasn't really a gangbanger like that. I see how the Bloods run him like it is now. He was just talking about sports. And, you know, he said he just had some family problems. And, you know, he was a stripper. He had a dripping Hershey Kiss tattooed on his chest. I was like, you feel me? Like, he really kind of, you could tell he kind of was like a little salty with what he was saying, you know. But you got to remember, this was 21 years ago that he met him, right? It's 21 years ago he met him. So all that time, and a few a select few times he might talk about starting his career in the Bay, but overall, you don't really hear Game talking much about the Bay at all. So it kind of makes you think, man, like what the deal is with this. You feel me? So anyway, you let me know what you think, man. Me personally, I feel like he could shout him out a little more. But at the end of the day, you your own man. You feel me? You got your 100 bands from that, and according to what he said, he made over the years $5 million off of all the, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. You let me know what you think. I appreciate y'all watching. Salute. If you haven't already, please subscribe, man. Y'all have a good evening.